Hello, Beatle collectors. Bungalow Craig here. Wanted to do a Beatle vinyl update, but most of all, celebrate the 50th anniversary of this single you see here, Hey Jude. Now, you might be asking yourself, why are you doing it so early? Because the British version of Hey Jude came out on August 30th of 1968, while the US version came out on August 26th of 1968. Well, the reason why I wanted to do this is because to give some time for the people, the Beatle collectors that watch my channel, to help them celebrate this single so that they can get a good price on the first pressings of this record, because there are a lot of different pressings of this particular record. Just because it has the Apple label on it doesn't mean that it's the first pressing. So, and there are some of the things, like with the sleeves, are very, very rare and very, very expensive. So I wanted to go over some of those variants so you could look it for yourself. But quick, as a pause, I do definitely want to do a shout out to my good buddy over at the Vinyl Basement. He's definitely, check him out. He's a really great channel. We agree 99% of the time on pressings from the UK and so forth. There are one or two things that we butt heads on, but it's all in good fun. And he's definitely one of my best buddies on here. So definitely check him out. His channel name is The Vinyl Basement. But to get back on track here, especially with Hey Jude, I want to be talking about this single and the different pressings of this single, of course. But where I'm going to actually get my information from are two different kind of books. The first book is by Bruce Spizers and Frank Daniels. It's called Beatles for Sale on Parlophone Records. So this book basically goes from all the singles that the Beatles made, from Love Me Do to Let It Be, EPs, and even the LPs, the records, the 33 and a third, and from like Please Please Me all the way to Let It Be. And he gives a lot of different insights and details, a lot of good information. Especially check it out because it's a lot of good details on every single album, record and covers. And the other book is for the US, is The Beatles on Apple Records by Bruce Spizers. So this came out earlier. This is the US version, and it goes through all the details of what to see and look for on the American side of the Hey Jude, the White Album, and so forth. So we'll be going through that. So let's get started. So this is my first pressing of Hey Jude on the British side. So it's a dark green apple. Usually you can barely see the Hey Jude written there, but this time, since the lighting is so well, you can actually see the Hey Jude, Lennon, McCartney, and the Beatles, but usually it's very, very dark and it's hard to see. Kind of like this version right here, when this is in Bruce Spizers' book on page 89. So it's usually kind of like this. But this is the first pressing label. Let's go over the label first. So the biggest thing, what you want to see for the label of Hey Jude, is that sold in UK text right on the push-out center. So the Hey Jude single was released on August 30th of 1968. And copies will have push-out centers and copies will have solid centers. So, but the biggest thing to actually see when you want to see first pressings of this record is the sold in UK written text on the label. If it doesn't have that, then it's a second pressing. But what's really cool as well, there's a lot of different variants of the first pressing record. So if you look on the right hand side, the R dash or space 5722 number will have different spacing, different things happening. So here is kind of the some of the different things you can see. So there's a lot of them, of course, and there's the solid center, as you can tell, but there's a lot of different variants of the first pressing which have the different spacing, the different number spacings, the different year spacings. It is definitely crazy. But the utmost important what you want to see is that sold in UK text, because if you don't, like this version right here, it will actually be a second pressing, so you don't see that on there. So that is the first pressing, and the darkness of the labels and the apples, as you can see right here, there's a lot of different kind of color schemes. That really doesn't matter that much. It's just showing you how many different kind of manufacturing labels there were. But the second thing to really take a note of is the sleeve. This is a first pressing Apple sleeve. Now, when Apple came out, they were definitely putting those Apple sleeves with the new Apple releases, the Hey Jude and so forth, and the other artists. But this sleeve, the wavy top, was only indicative of the first pressings of Hey Jude. So as you can see, the wavy top. Second pressings, and here's an example of well, it's not an Apple sleeve, but it's definitely like it. Second pressings will have this thumb tab, and then it'll have Apple right here. Let me give you a better picture here in Bruce Spizers' book on page 440. He shows the two different sleeves. Now you can see, sorry for the shakiness here, as you can see, the Apple, written word Apple, is a different color. It seems like it's thinner, plus it has a darker green on there. So this is the second pressing, which is of the sleeve, which is on something. And then here's Hey Jude with the dark label. As you can tell, it's very dark compared to the something. You can't even read the Hey Jude. But that is the first pressing of Hey Jude and the sleeve written there. So these sleeves are can be very costly if you get them. I just saw one that ended on eBay that sold for about, I want to say, almost $200. So it is definitely a rare sleeve. Not as rare as the first US sleeve, which we'll talk here in a minute, but this is very rare and only on first pressings of Hey Jude. So definitely keep your eye if you're looking for the first pressing of Hey Jude. Okay, now on to the US first pressing of Hey Jude. So this is the first pressing of Hey Jude that came out. So what happened was on August 22nd of 1968, Apple, the newly formed Apple for the Beatles company, sent out a press kit called Apple's First Four. And this is on page 17 of Bruce Spizers' guide. They sent out a press kit involving pictures of the Beatles in Yellow Submarine, even though that wasn't out yet. They had little inserts. There's the records of the Beatles' first four records that you can see there. So, and they consisted of, well, first was this one, Hey Jude, but on the next page you can see the records there. Let me see if I can turn on some light here. Here we go. Does that help? A little bit, but the first were Hey Jude, of course, and then you have Thingamabob by the Jack Foster and Sons Limited, Black Dyke Mills Band. Mary Hopkin, Those Were the Days, and then you have Jackie Lomax, Sour Milk C. So those were the first to come out, but to get with the Hey Jude, they were all issued with this particular sleeve, but let's actually talk about the pressing of Hey Jude first, how you can tell that this is a first pressing. So with Hey Jude, as you can see, there's what's really listed on the label there. So we have Hey Jude, Lennon and McCartney, the Beatles, McClellan Music Incorporated, BMI, the time 7 minutes and 11 seconds, and the number 2276. That is the issue of the first pressing. And on the back, even though I have this in a frame, I have another copy of this. So here you can see on the back is the same thing, minus the Helen Booth, of course. There, the writing there. We have Revolver, which is Lennon and McCartney, just the number 2276, And the Beatles, McClellan Music Incorporated, BMI. And then Revolution is 3 minutes and 22 seconds. So that is the first pressing. Now, what happened was Hey Jude was becoming very, very popular. Of course, it was huge. It was Beatles. It's coming out. The new Apple logo is coming out. So they wanted to make even more. So they forgot all this information on there. So let's go over to Bruce Spizers' book here. As you can tell, that's the first label. See, it says first label, what I just kind of read there. Second pressings include the George Martin credit on the front. So everything will be the same, but George Martin credit will have the produced by George Martin on the front of the label and on the back, as you can see. And then we have another version of that. So it's the same kind of thing. But then on the fourth pressings of it, as you can tell, they included the matrix number on the bottom. So everything else is the same, but they included the matrix number, and they left out the George Martin credit. So they put the matrix number. They were trying to figure out what was going on here. Oh, and here is George Martin credit, and then we have the matrix number. And then they started changing the format of Hey Jude. So they have the better format so you can read Hey Jude, so you don't have to turn it sideways, and so forth. So these are the 5th, the 6th, the 7th. Here is the 3rd pressing. Here is the 12th pressing. So it's definitely because it was a huge single for the Beatles, of course. That many weeks at number 1. I mean, it definitely made a lot of different pressings. But this is actually the first. And what you're going to want to see, of course, is the no credit. So you don't want to see, there's no George Martin credit, there's no matrix number, and that's going to be on the front and the back. So on this one as well, you can see that there's no George Martin credit or matrix number, and it's in a vertical position. So that is the first true pressing of the record. Now, it was actually issued. Now, I was looking at Perry Cox. I'll actually link his eBay. He actually sold one of these with the first sleeve and the first record. And he said that basically the thumb tab version is basically because it was only listed, just like the English version, it was only listed with Hey Jude. So they said that if Hey Jude had a picture sleeve, if this was considered a picture sleeve, this would be it. This was only issued, the thumb tab version was only issued to Hey Jude and the Beatles on Apple. So this is a very, very rare. This is one of the biggest things that you want to see and what you actually want to look for on the first variants of Hey Jude. So as you know, there's a lot of different sleeves. So this is on page 28 of Bruce Spizers' guide. So we have the straight cut, we have the thumb tab, and then Apple did the same thing. You had the straight cut, you have the thumb tab, and then you have the rounded cut for Apple as well. So some of the ones I have, let me go back over to mine. I have a straight cut. This is a straight cut. So this is a later pressing for, well, later in the 68, 1969. Then I have another straight cut. Of course, here's another straight cut. And then I have, this one was kind of an interesting find. This one's like a curvy cut, as you can tell. Let me show it over. You can kind of see that it's a curvier cut. So, and it's a lighter apple on the side. And then we go over to the Apple ones. So there was Apple, because the Beatles on Apple, of course, is solely for the Beatles records. But the ones that came out later, like the Jackie Lomax or James Taylor, they had Apple sleeves. The first pressing of Jackie Lomax and Mary Hopkin and so forth had those thumb tab sleeves as well, but it just had Apple on the front. And those are rare as well. The rare one, of course, is to have the Beatles on Apple. But some of those here for the solo artists, for like James Taylor, stuff like that. We'll have the straight cut. Here's that straight cut. And then this one was kind of cool. This is my Ringo one, Don't Come Easy. Someone even wrote that. 1971. And here is a curvy cut. So those are kind of some of the cuts on the Beatles singles. But the first pressings of this are, of course, going to have that thumb tab. Let me show you that again here. So let me get a full picture of it. And you can see the Made in USA down in the corner. Let me get a good picture of that. If it'll focus. There it is. So the Printed in USA will be on those, and they're on all the Apple sleeves, matter of fact. So that is one of the things that you can tell if that's a first pressing of Hey Jude. Now remember, with these, they're very, very rare. So the straight tabs were made by Queen's Litho on the East Coast, but the Burtco one, the West ones, the first pressings of this were only 20% of them. So there was it's like 80% straight tab or straight cut, and then 20% are thumb tabs. So there are error pressings. So where they have the label or this, where they haven't done the cut of this. So it's just the Beatles on Apple with a black sleeve, and that is actually an error pressing, which are very, very rare. They never issued it like that. It was just a manufacturer error, according to Bruce Spizers when he interviewed the manufacturing plants of these. So definitely look for those. Look for the sleeve to go along with your Hey Jude, the thumb tab. Make sure you try to look for that. So let's go over, and I want to definitely show you my first copy of Hey Jude. So this is actually my first copy of Hey Jude when I was a kid. When I got this, I swear I found the Holy Grail. When I was in middle school, my dad took me to a record store, and I picked it up. I got the Apple sleeve with it. So this is the Apple sleeve. I have it out of the sleeve. But I thought I had the Holy Grail, and I thought it was great. I love this song. It's my favorite Beatles song. That's why I'm doing this video, to commemorate that. But one day I dropped it on the record. I was so nervous, and I dropped the needle on the record, and I was young. And I thought, I could just fix it. So I tried, putting the needle in place, but I actually chipped some of the song out, so it skipped for me. And the longest time, I knew Hey Jude by it skipping, and I was bummed that it was skipped. So as you can see the groove, the groove where I tried to burn the burn groove. So, but luckily when I got older, you can tell that this isn't a first pressing. It has the George Martin credit on it, and also has the matrix number under the 2276. So it's a later pressing. It's like fourth or fifth pressing, as in my book there. So, but I do definitely love this single. It is my favorite Beatles song. That's why I wanted to show you the first pressings of Hey Jude, and wanted to show you what to look for, especially on the British version with the wavy cut and the darker apple, and on the thumb tab cut on the US version without the matrix. These are definitely hard to find now. I paid about $4 for the US one with the thumb tab, and I paid about $10-15 for the British version. And you can still find these. I think there's one on there. I mean, Perry Cox just sold the British version, or excuse me, the US one, thumb tab, and I'll link that if you want to see that below, for close to $600. So it is, a lot of people are starting to be wise to it, and very rare. And I wanted to have my viewers see and try to get this, because it is definitely a rare version of the first pressing of Hey Jude. So, but thanks for tuning in with this. It's my favorite song. I wanted to do this early for you guys. It's my favorite song, Hey Jude. I could listen to it endlessly, to be honest. So take care. Leave a comment. If you have a question, please, I'll answer it, and we'll definitely get it resolved. So take care. Have a good day. See ya. Happy anniversary, Hey Jude.